Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Gerald here with your weather forecast. We're all having a good start to the week. It is now Monday, so I always kind of like a new week. It feels like a nice fresh start, and the weather is going to also make it feel like a pretty fresh start here in a couple days because we got a lot of changes on the way, and that big change is going to be a pretty significant return to winter-like weather for much of us east of the Mississippi, and really just kind of throughout much of the lower 48 in general, getting more winter-like weather through the next couple of weeks. So I don't want this to catch you off guard because through a lot of the southeast at least and just the east coast in general, we've had some really spring-like weather for what feels like a pretty extended amount of time, and really just about all of February was very spring-like, but this is probably going to catch a lot of people off guard, so I just want you to be prepared, and hopefully you like the thumbnail. Put a little groundhog on there, just to kind of, thought it was kind of funny, so hopefully you like that. But we definitely have some cold coming, and with that, maybe even some snow, so I'm also going to mention that for some of our folks here in the Northeast, who I'm sure have been hearing a lot about, a ton of crazy model runs we've seen over the past couple of days, but unfortunately right now we just don't have that much agreement in the models in terms of snow, but we do know is that we are getting that cold. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into it on this Monday because we do have a pretty good amount to talk about here. So taking a look at radar right now, really the only thing of significance is this kind of clipper system working through the Great Lakes and going through tonight and into tomorrow morning. That's eventually going to work through the northern mid-Atlantic here and bring some snow for some of us through much of Pennsylvania, and I'll show that to you here in a minute. But what I also want to show you here is satellite. We've overall had a pretty nice day through much of the East Coast, still having that springtime weather, but really come Wednesday, I think is going to be when that pattern really begins to change and we get more winter-like weather for many of us. So again, through much of the southeast and even the northeast, we've had pretty nice conditions overall throughout the day today. Taking a look at those hazards, again, a really nice empty map, but that'll likely change here as we get further through this week. But do want to mention those winter weather advisories up there in Pennsylvania and through sections of the Great Lakes as we are dealing with some of that winter weather. So taking a look at tonight's temperatures, we've got another really warm night ahead of us for much of the southeast and the east coast in general, but you can tell we do have kind of some colder temperatures up into the northeast and definitely colder temperatures out west up into the northern Great Plains, but definitely another very warm spring-like night for the southeast, and I'll tell you, you're probably going to want to enjoy it. So if you have to get up early in the morning and get out there, be happy tomorrow morning that it is relatively warm because unfortunately we're going to get back into the 30s for lows for a lot of us over the next couple of days. But taking a look here at tomorrow's high temperatures, I think tomorrow's going to really be that last day of really nice weather here throughout the south and just really the east coast in general. Temperatures getting probably even into the 80s here along the I-20 corridor and south tomorrow, but still even nice temperatures through much of kind of the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys tomorrow on Tuesday. Talking about the snow real quick up in the northeast, again, pretty clear right now for most of us, but as we get into kind of past sunset tonight into kind of the 7-8 o'clock hour, we're going to get some snow to develop here into northern PA and southern New York State. And you can see that's going to continue throughout much of the overnight. This is about midnight here. You can see a pretty big hefty band of snow here, kind of from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg northbound, so up towards State College, Scranton, PA, and even into northern New Jersey getting some snow out of this, maybe even New York City seeing some snow fly. And again, that will mainly happen during the overnight, maybe some leftover flurries or light snow showers tomorrow morning throughout much of Pennsylvania, but overall not too big of a deal here, but I did want to mention it nonetheless. And looking at those snowfall totals, pretty big swath of 1 to 3 inches here in northern PA, but maybe a dusting to an inch even as far east and south as New York City and northern New Jersey out of this thing. So, nice little burst of snow for those of you that are kind of in a snowy mood. Taking a look at the kind of not long range, but the medium range here through this week. Let me bring you the forecast here for that. So going into tomorrow afternoon, again, I think tomorrow afternoon is the last really nice day out there. Overall, pretty clear here. Maybe some showers down along the Gulf and back out into the southern plains. But I think that shower activity really picks up going into Tuesday night and into Wednesday. You can see we get some pretty widespread rain out here across Oklahoma, up into Missouri, parts of Texas. And that's going to kind of hang around through Wednesday afternoon, even moving into places like Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, western Tennessee, maybe seeing some of that rain on Wednesday. But those showers are just going to continue through much of Wednesday and even into Thursday through those regions before we finally get a storm system to really develop here and start working off to the east and moving some of those showers off with it. So going into Thursday afternoon here, I think we get a pretty healthy band of snow up here into the northern plains, and with that, some rain to the south. And kind of this unsettled weather is going to continue to work through the country on Thursday afternoon and then even into kind of Friday morning and Friday afternoon, pictured below, some snow up into the Great Lakes and some pretty widespread rain showers here across the southeast before that kind of system then finally begins to move off into the northeast going into Friday evening. And this is where we have some question marks. So there is the potential for maybe some kind of snowstorm up here into the northeast on kind of this weekend in that time frame, but right now we really just don't have that much agreement in our models. So this is as far as I'll talk for this part of the video, and then here in a couple of minutes we'll talk more about that snow potential. But what I want you to know is we're going to have some pretty widespread scattered showers and snow showers through much of the country from Wednesday through Friday. So snow up here into the northern plains and into the Great Lakes, and then widespread rain here for the southeast and kind of the Ohio River Valley going through Friday. And then we'll talk about the weekend here in a minute. But what I want to show you here are these temperatures. So again, going into tomorrow afternoon, into Tuesday afternoon, still have a really nice spring-like day here for the southeast. But you can see this kind of backdoor cold front is going to begin to work in going into Wednesday, and that's going to help to cool things off. And you can see, Wednesday afternoon, we have pretty widespread below average temperatures now because of that backdoor cold front, or at least more average temperatures. So more of a March-like day than kind of a May-like day, like we'll see on Tuesday. So again, Wednesday, more of an average day. Tuesday, more of a kind of what you'd expect in May for much of us. And then that cold here sticks around even going into Thursday afternoon. And you can see going out even into this weekend, I think that's whenever we really get some sustained cold. So I think, kind of an average to slightly below average temperatures Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But once we get into the Saturday, Sunday time frame, look at these more darker blues pushing into the east here, and that's signaling well below average temperatures for many of us here. And we're even seeing some purples mix in here, meaning 15 to 20 degrees below what you would expect this time of year. And the models have this kind of really hanging on through much of early next week even, and likely even past that. So, talking about that rain real quick, again, I think the bullseye, this will be kind of over this general area here from eastern Oklahoma up through northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. But the real bullseye here being through much of Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma, where we could have some flash flooding issues, and we'll watch for that during the middle part of this week. Now, actually talking about this snow for this weekend and this potential, I'm sure you've heard all about. So, again, we'll start where we left off here with this threat. And you can see on Saturday, this is our European model, does show some low pressure here into the Ohio River Valley. And this begins to move through the northeast, but you don't really see much of anything there. And in fact, with the Euro here, you do get this low pressure to really deepen, but it's well offshore, and there's no precipitation overlapping with this cold air. Now, what I will say with the European here is we get another system going into Sunday. So round one here on the Euro is kind of a whiff in terms of snow for much of the East Coast. But for round two on the Euro here, this shows some snow here for sections of the Northeast with a pretty strong low pressure, and this would be going into early next week. So again, this is about a week out still, but Storm 1 here on the Euro, not much of anything. Storm 2, though, is able to kind of dive down here to the south and then ride up the coast a bit, bringing some snow to the higher terrains of the mountains from really North Carolina northward. But, a pretty potentially significant snowstorm through portions of the northeast. So that's the latest Euro. The GFS paints a pretty different picture. So moving this ahead through this week, this is that low pressure on the GFS. And you can see this is much more robust here, moving through the Great Lakes region and moves through the northeast and phases off the coast. And you're getting a pretty impactful snowstorm this weekend in the northeast with the GFS model with round one there. And then even on round two with the GFS, that also kind of misses the northeast, but brings quite the snowstorm potentially to sections of the higher terrains and even some of the, midwestern areas, if you will, here from Missouri down into the Tennessee River Valley. So two very different solutions here between the two models, and unfortunately that's just something that we're going to have to deal with and work around right now. But what I will say is I do think someone in the East Coast will see a bit of a surprise in terms of snow for definitely March standards, whether that's the Northeast here or down into the Tennessee River Valley. We still have time to kind of work out the kinks there. But showing you the ensemble snowfall here with the latest Euro ensembles. We'll move this ahead into this weekend. Again, I think snow pretty likely during this week here up into the northern plains and into the Midwest. But as this continues to move into the Northeast for this weekend, the Euro confines most of the chance of that snow falling here to much of Pennsylvania and kind of the higher elevations here of West Virginia, and then doesn't really show significant chances of snowfall for the Northeast really at all until we get into kind of the beginning and middle of next week. Looking at the GFS ensembles, however, moving this ahead, you can see those chances are much more robust through much of New England here for this weekend. And again, stretching really from the higher terrains of West Virginia all the way up here into the interior Northeast, but even some of the coastal areas of the Northeast here, seeing chances of seeing past an inch of snow here with these brighter colors. So again, very different, but I will also note then going after that, the GFS does show another signal into kind of the beginning to middle of next week up here into the Northeast for the potential of some kind of snowstorm. So what we do know is we're going to have cold air. Over the next 6 to 10 days, pretty high likelihood that we see below average temperatures through really just about the entire lower 48, but really centered here over the Southeast and Midwest. And then that it will even continue in the 1 to 2 week range. So we'll definitely have the cold air. What we don't really know right now is storm track and how these things will phase and how strong these storms will get and all of that. But I definitely think we're going to have enough cold air for someone here, and I know this is a big circle, but somewhere here in this general part of the country to see some snow over the next 5 to 10 days. But with all that said, if you liked the video, make sure to hit that like button. And I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if you're new here, also definitely consider subscribing, or maybe if you're not new and you just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. But with all that said, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.